very important for those who are outside marriage. As you come in, get a person who has your speed in life, who has your rhythm. You can come together, but within 5 years, you're so different as if you're strangers. Because you are driven, you're on the move. And I told you of a guy who, I pity him. The girl is a settler, himself is a mover. He wants to buy shopping in bulk. He wants to buy several packs of those tissue papers. When he's buying cooking oil, he's buying 20 liters. But the girl wanted to buy half a liter. You know, the small one. And the girl will fight over that to no end. Now, the problem with that guy is, maybe he looked at everything else, except whether they could rhyme. They asked me to tell them characteristics of women to avoid, and told them one of them is endless opposition. So women just oppose. So we are saying one problem you find in families is one is a progressive. The other one is very laid back. Will not. So one lady told me she wanted to buy this kind of car. The husband wanted a smaller one. In another place, you find a guy who wants to buy a bigger one. The lady wanted that difference can cause a lot of friction. It does not mean when we are compatible, we think alike every time. But it means we are willing to give way. We disagree and say, "Oh, okay, let's just go with your idea. It's okay." Right. And Joyce, that's a place of submission. Men should submit also to the wife. Wow. The Bible says, "Submit one to another." You know, we blow the other verse. Out of proportion, women submit, and we forget later, submit one to another. There's a place to give way to my wife. When she's better in an area, let her do it. Let her design those things. Let her sometimes I take her ideas and implement them. There's that. It's not, submission is not one way, it's two way. So one of the differences we have is when nobody is giving way to the other. When a person has slowness or laziness or lack of ambition, and the other one is on the go, it can be solved easily by the one who was a little bit laid back, thinking we have arrived. If they had aimed at building a house and they have built it and you are settled.
How do you assess then a person in the dating phase, whether so that these are the challenges that you avoid from the beginning, right?
Even in conversations, what you guys are trying to do. There are people who, Joyce, they'll just, you don't see them taking risks. A healthy person will take a risk and say, I wanted to do a BCD and I'll try that business. Even if it collapses, I will have learned, but let me try. These people we are calling lazy man syndrome do not try anything. They won't rock the boat. They're too afraid. They use the language that young man told me, I just want to let life unfold. Will that person try anything? Will they open a business? Will they try to save up for anything? You don't know about tomorrow. Don't force things. Just be satisfied. Just go with the flow. You know, there's no need of disturbing. You know, life is like that. Don't know what will happen tomorrow. That's how they think. And you think they are joking. And many of them are in church, Joyce. Many of them are very, they have a routine that is very rigid. A routine. Show up in church on time, pray on time, and come back home. And then just that. But they are stagnated. They don't grow.
I mean, this is a serious problem, though. Then I mean, and when we've talked about, you know, a lot of ladies really trusting God to find the right spouse that they can submit to, this makes it very hard to then submit.
And you know, Joyce, I want to tell ladies that singleness is not a life-threatening condition, and marriage is not a life support system. You don't marry with a compromise on serious things. You'll be restless inside. Look until you find one whom you rhyme. And once you find each other, agree that we are going to keep progressing and moving and trying. There are couples who fought over, one wanted to live in Karen, another wanted to live elsewhere, somewhere where it's cheaper, you can find things. Because they had both grown up in the same slum area, same social status. But one was so driven. The guy was aiming at, I want us to get our children, they find us in the high area where we can show them big cars, can show them big possibilities. But the ladies are afraid. What if we are auctioned? What? No, we can't afford that rent. No, you look at your job. The fear. The other guy is using faith and believing. We are not saying you will be reckless, try break your back over that. But we are saying try better, pushing yourself forward. When you're dating, look for a person whom you talk that language. You use faith more than you use fear. Be very careful, Joyce. Some people they make it sound like caution. But it's actually a paralyzing fear. It's actually a kind of fear that holds them back. And I told the other day that poverty mentality, I've studied poverty mentality like a phenomenon myself. Because I tried helping orphans, I tried helping needy people. I get a sponsor to help them. And they tell, okay, come, now start school. The day they're reporting for school, they're being given sponsorship, they don't show up. They went for Matanka Yangoya Sush. We shall go. Oh, we changed. My mother is here thinking about it. I did that. Me and my friend were trying to help needy children for about 10 cases. On the day they were coming, they get a motorbike accident. On the day they're coming, the stomach upset. They missed opportunities when everything we had worked was working until I arrived at the root of it. It's poverty mentality. This we're calling laziness. Sometimes it's rooted to being conditioned to survival, not success. So whenever the chance for success comes, success always requires some courage and some ability to take a risk and to dare and to try new things. They don't have that. They don't have that. They would rather stay with the comfortable.
Let's explore that further. I like what you've said, that there are people who are actually conditioned to survive than to chase success.
Exactly.
And I think that applies everywhere, not just your finances, but even now your relationships and how you treat one another in the relationship.
I saw an article was done by Catholic Church. They did a lot of research about the third world country. The journal was called The Science of Inequality, and the article was called The Psychology of Poverty. So they were saying poverty conditions people not to think about tomorrow too much. I grew up in a family where when you get today's food, they relax. Today we are sorted, thank God. Well, it's lunchtime that we have today's food. Yeah? They don't value. So the article was saying poverty has habits that reinforce it. One of them is not valuing tomorrow. Just have you tried to get a fundi or mechanic or something? Have you seen how hard it is to get a reliable person for small tasks? That's where poverty mentality prevails. They talk like they're needy, but give them a job, they cheat, they cut corners, they don't show up, they're not reliable. To get a person to build a latrine at home reliably without taking you drama is hard. So it is to say that people are conditioned, and I knew because I grew up in a pressurized environment myself. If you grew up in a slum or in a poverty environment, just know that your conditioning was for survival, for today's food, for basic clothing. We didn't know that there were clothes for sleeping. We didn't know there were shoes for inside the house. We didn't know that there was basic, just one shoe for everywhere. And the shoe was made with a vehicle tire. So that was survival, and it made it look like normal. So my normal idealized was so far behind. I've had to expose myself deliberately, Joyce, to learn that you can sit down with money and it is not eating. I never saw that. I was valuing mobile apps by how much loan they could give me. I had to switch to how much I can save. Now, instead of searching maximum loan, I check maximum saving limit for insurance. I want to experience saving. I'm retraining my mind to abundance because I came from scarcity. So survival and scarcity came from, that's what conditions you. Now, if you grew up in that, that's why they keep pumping money to slums and thinking they will improve. That in the West, they tried to eliminate ghettos in America, and they pumped money. The ghettos was not changing. They built better houses, but the guys lived as if they're still living in the ghettos. They came to realize it's not just the environment, it's the mindset. It's the mind. You give them money, they squander it. Tomorrow they go back to hustling again. They look for today's money, they eat today, they go back to sleep. Tomorrow it's raining, they have no food. So, so Joyce, it's a mental. Sometimes this laziness is coming from a conditioning to poverty.
I want to take some questions and also start talking about then how do we address this, especially for the ones who are already in a relationship. So if you're in the dating phase, you have some moments to kind of get things straight and get them aligned.
That's right.
But if someone is already in a relationship, marriage, let's say, perhaps there are even children in this relationship, how does one begin addressing that? Very briefly, and then I take some questions.
All right. So one of the ways is don't let the family collapse. You step up and do what is needed. Don't transfer your children from those good schools to until they're traumatized. Sometimes that downgrading is very traumatizing.
Yeah.
Children will take eternity to adjust, and they'll feel their self-esteem has been, damaged. So if something has happened, the breadwinner has lost job and they are too lazy to look for another one, or they have messed it up with drinking, or they just misbehaved until they lost it.
Okay.
Don't sit there mourning. Try to do what you can to compensate.
All right.
The next thing, shield the children.
Yeah.
Shield them from that kind of trauma.
And I think for the women, it's important to say, do it with wisdom, right? So there's a subtlety that's required because you still want to allow your man to feel like he's the head of the home. He might be going through a phase and you don't necessarily feel like he is, but you don't have to make him feel like he's not.
Say some things. When you say them, they can damage.
Right.
Some of these things you do them wisely. The way Abigail did. She never told Nabal that she went to meet David and negotiate peace.
Yeah. Wow. Very quickly through some questions here. My time is up. Someone here says, Hey, Benjamin. How can one deal with fear and low self-esteem? This thing has terrorized me for long.
Please, you need to see a professional to talk about that. Fear and low self-esteem, I'm happy you can identify what is happening, but it has a root. It is coming from a root. There's an injury that was done to your spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another person here says, hey Joyce, from today's topic, I'm a lady, but I feel like I'm also going through the lazy man syndrome. I'm 20 years old, battling depression and anxiety, and this has been going on for a while. I've been ailing from an undiagnosed condition for quite some time now, and honestly, this has been the lowest moment of my life. Lastly, I also come from a toxic home where my dad has been a drunkard all his life. Nothing motivates me anymore. And
It
they're
is,
just
that
20.
it is that undiagnosed condition and the abuse from home. Hers is not laziness, please, lady, don't call yourself that. Yours is a condition that needs treatment. Please see a professional. Some will see you even for free, even if you don't need to inform at home or call up, counselors. You can be assisted.
Right.